Good evening, everyone. I call to order this meeting of the Washington County Board of Education. We have all members present, so I declare a quorum. I'd like to introduce this evening a fifth grade student from Jonathan Hager Elementary, who's here this evening to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. It's with great pleasure that I introduce to you Caitlin Thompson. So Caitlin, would you please come up and lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Hello again, Caitlin.
Hi.
Caitlin, do you have some people with you this evening that you would like to introduce?
My mom, my sister, and my principal, Mr. Semler.
Your mom, your sister, and your principal,
Mr. Semler.
Mr. Semler. Welcome. Thank you for bringing Caitlin this evening. Caitlin, you're a fifth grade student.
Yes.
What's great about fifth grade these days?
We get to do like a lot of stuff, and we're going to outdoor school soon.
Oh, so you're going to Fairview. What kinds of things are you expecting to do there? Be one with nature for sure, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Caitlin, do you have a favorite subject?
Math.
Math.
Looks good.
Oh my goodness, I'm in awe. I'm a reader. I'm not very good at math, so. And when you're not in school, what do you enjoy doing?
Dancing.
Dancing. Do you take dance lessons?
Yes.
Oh. And do you have a favorite type of dance that you do?
Jazz.
Wonderful. Are you giving any performances anytime soon?
Yeah.
You are? Would you like to put a plug in for where you're going to be performing? No? Okay. Caitlin?
I go to OSP.
OSP? And what do those letters stand for, do you know?
On stage performance.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to watch the paper.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to ask us, Caitlin?
No.
No? Well, that's understandable. I thank you again for being here,
You're welcome.
and I know you have homework to do, right? Okay. Good luck to you the rest of the year there, and have a great time at Fairview.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll begin with our first item of business, and that is to approve this evening's agenda.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Any discussion of the agenda? All those in favor of approval? Okay, we have a unanimous vote, and the student member concurs, so we do have an approved agenda. We'll move on to approval of the minutes.
Madam President, I move for the approval of closed session minutes dated November 5th, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Gaspard. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Are there any additions or corrections to the closed session minutes of November 5th? No? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval? Okay, we have 7 affirmative votes. Those minutes are approved.
Madam President, I make a second motion for the approval of the business meeting minutes dated November 5th, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Gaspard. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Any additions or corrections to the business meeting minutes of November 5th? No? All those in favor of approval? Okay, we have 7 affirmative votes, and the student member concurs. We have those minutes approved.
And finally, the third motion for the approval of the joint meeting minutes dated November 6th, 2019.
November 6th, did you say?
That's what is on here.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. So we're voting to approve the minutes of the joint meeting held on November 6th. All those in favor? Okay, we have 7 affirmative votes, so we have approval of those minutes. Are we good?
Was it the 6th? That's a Wednesday.
I don't have that in front of me. Oh, the meeting with the
Oh, yes.
delegation.
That
Oh,
was on Wednesday.
thank you, Ms. Chekovich. That was the 6th. Okay.
It was.
Okay. We'll move to we'll move to the superintendent's report. Dr. Michael.
This week's American Education Week, and actually tomorrow is Educational Support Professionals Day. And I just want to express my appreciation to all of our educational support personnel, bus drivers, clerical positions, custodians, food service workers, just so many different departments. They do a wonderful job for us. I've had the opportunity to work side by side with some of our folks in various capacities, and I'm just so appreciative of all the work of our educational support personnel. Tonight, we're actually going to have Ms. Baker read a proclamation, and I think Mr. Haynes is going to introduce some of our special guests. These are young ladies that have been around the system for a few years, and they're going to represent ESP tonight. I think actually it was anybody that was working before 1980. We had a couple other folks who weren't able to make it tonight, but we're grateful for the many years of service that you have had for ESP, and going to make great representatives here tonight. So at this time, I'd invite the board to get down before Terry reads the proclamation. Thank you.
Washington County Board of Education Proclamation. Whereas education support professionals are an integral part of the public education process. And whereas WCPS educational support personnel includes transportation, maintenance and operations, technology, administrative and clerical, paraprofessionals, food services, and other student support personnel. And whereas educational support professionals provide a safe, healthy, and productive learning environment for students. And whereas education support professionals work tirelessly to serve our children and communities with care and professionalism. Therefore, be it proclaimed that November 20th, 2019 is observed by Washington County Public Schools as National Education Support Professionals Day, presented this 19th day of November, 2019.
And we are very honored to have with us tonight Judith Hampshire, who has 45 years of service with Washington County Public Schools. And just a month shy of Judy is Marion Becky Vance, who also has 45 years of service. Carla Chambers, who is just about 2 weeks short of 43 years. Pamela Steiner with 42 years of service. Deborah Babby with 42 years. And with a mere 40, Loretta Mauk.
President Williams, I'll have some additional comments later in the program, but again, I do want to thank all of our ESP staff, and tomorrow's a special day, and I hope that they'll be recognized at their school as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. At this time, we'll have public comment. And I have one individual who has signed up in advance, Mr. Neil Becker. Neil knows the drill.
I will do my best to do. Thank you, President Williams, Superintendent Michael, and board members. I too wish to take this opportunity to recognize our education support personnel tomorrow, but not just every day of the year. Literally, it is not an exaggeration when I say our school system could not function without our support personnel. Our support personnel are the first adults that our children see in the morning, and often the last ones, especially if they're bus riders. And our schools could not function. And as a representative of the teachers, the quote-unquote certified personnel, I'm grateful for the support personnel in our system. I also would like to take a moment today to encourage all citizens to pay attention to the opportunity to participate in the Blueprint for Maryland's Future Forum. Last meeting, we had not officially heard in our county that we would be having an event here in Washington County, and Vice President Stauffer mentioned that there was one in Urbana, and I know some of our board members attended the meeting in Urbana. But on Monday, November 25th at 5:30 p.m. at the Washington County Free Library downtown, there will be a forum, our kids, our schools, our community, a Blueprint for Maryland's Future Forum. And the focus, as many have called it, is the Kerwin recommendations, but the legislation, that blueprint that's being laid out literally for decades to come, that new funding formula, and the future of public education literally rests in the hands of our legislature this session. And I encourage every Washington County resident to pay attention to the recommendations and what the legislature is doing. And the Blueprint Forum is an opportunity to get involved and ask some questions and hear from members of the community, both on the panel and in the audience regarding the forum. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak and encourage everyone to RSVP via marylandblueprint.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward to make comment? Okay, seeing none. Is there any board member who'd like to respond? Mrs. Fisher?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Becker. Do you know if this event will be videotaped and retelevised either through Antietam Cable or put on YouTube or anything?
I do not know that answer, but I'll find out.
Okay,
We'll let you know.
appreciate it.
I have a question for Neil, too. Do you know who the forum speakers will be? Have they been announced yet?
I do not know off the top of my head the forum speakers. They're all local community members, educators, or students. I do
From
know
Washington
that.
County?
From Washington County.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
We'll move now to old business. Our first item of business under old business is the consideration of proposed policy KDBB. This is the second reading of that policy. Policy is entitled Research and Data Collection Requests, and it also has an exhibit, goes along with it, KDBB-E, Washington County Public Schools Request for Conducting a Research Policy, or I'm sorry, a research study, excuse me. Mr. Trotta.
Thank you. Good evening. On November the 5th, the Board of Education approved the first reading of this new policy, KDBB, and the exhibit to this new policy. A comment was received about the proposed new policy that raised a number of points. The comment expressed concerns about protecting confidential information and informing parents of a research study. It also noted that a study should not add to a teacher's responsibilities. There was also a recommendation that documentation should be available in multiple languages. The policy addresses research requests from outside organizations, and the proposed policy makes it clear that there's no obligation whatsoever to honor such a request. I'd like to read from the proposed policy. It's Article 4, subsection A. It states as follows: research and data collection should cause limited interruptions to their educational program, not pose undue burdens on staff, students, and/or parents, and support the goals and objectives of WCPS. There's also a rather lengthy section that addresses the importance of maintaining confidentiality and the security of data. The Policy Committee is requesting the Board of Education's approval of this policy and the exhibit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trotta. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam President, I move for the approval of the second reading of proposed policy KDBB, which is entitled Research and Data Collection Requests. Along with that is proposed exhibit KDBB-E entitled Washington County Public Schools Request for Conducting a Research Study.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Any discussion, any questions? Well, then we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the second reading of proposed policy KDBB and the proposed exhibit KDBB-E. All those in favor? Okay, we have 7 affirmative votes and the student member concurs. Motion carries. We'll move on to another policy for our consideration this evening. This is the second reading of proposed changes to policy KDB, Freedom of Information, Public Information Act requests. Mr. Trotta.
Thank you. On November the 5th, the Board of Education approved the first reading of the proposed changes to this policy, which is an existing policy. A comment was received that information should be made available to the public, and the process for seeking information should be simple. The Policy Committee is requesting the Board of Education's approval for the second reading of policy KDB.
Thank you, Mr. Trotta. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move for the approval of the second reading of proposed changes to policy KDB entitled Freedom of Information / Public Information Act Requests.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Any discussion, any questions? Okay, then our vote is to approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy KDB. All those in favor? Okay, we have 7 affirmative votes and the student member concurs. Motion carries. And we have a third policy that we're considering this evening, the second reading of proposed policy KDBA, procedures governing the response to a subpoena or a subpoena duces tecum.
That is correct.
Mr. Trotta.
Thank you. On November the 5th, the Board of Education approved the first reading of this new policy. A comment was received that when an employee is served with a subpoena, the employee should be provided with assistance because the legal process can be intimidating. I wanted to share with the Board of Education and the community that our office, my office, works directly with employees who are served with a subpoena. Oftentimes, this is their very first interaction with the judicial system, and quite frankly, they really need some guidance and they need some assistance. And so we explain to them what their role is as a witness. We explain to them what a subpoena is. A subpoena duces tecum is a subpoena to appear and to produce certain documents, oftentimes a student's record that contains highly confidential information. So we explain to them what the process looks like, and it really, we believe it puts them at ease. Actually, our first step in the process is to try to get the subpoena set aside so that they can remain in the classroom educating students, but that is not always possible. So I wanted to make you aware of the measures we take when a subpoena is served on one of our employees. The Board of Education, the Policy Committee is requesting the board's approval of policy KDBA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trotta. Is there a motion?
Yes, Madam President, I move for the approval of the second reading of proposed policy KDBA entitled Procedures Governing the Response to a Subpoena or a Subpoena Duces Tecum.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Okay. Any questions, any discussion? Okay, we'll move to the vote. Vote is on approval of the second reading of proposed policy KDBA. All those in favor? Okay. Have
Madam
seven.
President, I just want to say that the Policy Committee is meeting next week. We will take a brief second look at this to make sure that we haven't missed anything, but I think Mr. Trotta explained in our meeting in even much more detail than he did this evening, the ends to which both our legal team and HR go to help teachers and other employees who are involved in any of these three types of situations.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. So we did have 7 affirmative votes and the student member concurred, so that policy has passed second reading. So that concludes old business for this evening, and Mr. Trotta, you're going to stick around for our first item of new business.
I'm glad to.
Under consideration this evening is a naming rights agreement.
That is correct. This evening, the Board of Education is being requested to consider a naming rights agreement with the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts Foundation. Before I provide an overview of the agreement, I'd like to provide some background information on the foundation. The foundation was founded with the express approval of the Board of Education in September of 2007 as a charitable, not-for-profit corporation. The mission of this foundation is to support the education of students and to secure public, private, and in-kind support for capital and operational needs of the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts. In addition to the support that the foundation provides to this school, for the past 9 years, the foundation has offered the Summer Arts Academy, which provides youngsters with the opportunity to grow as artists, writers, musicians, and individuals. The Board of Education and the superintendent are in the process of completing the construction of the new academic center, which is located between the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts and the Maryland Historic Theater. The foundation has requested the opportunity to offer certain naming rights at the new academic center and the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts campus that are enumerated in the proposed agreement that the members of the board have been provided a copy with in exchange for charitable deductions and donations. The funds that are collected will be used to further the mission of the foundation, and the funds that they collect will also be placed into an account, and the foundation has a responsibility to account for the funds that are received and are expended. The Board of Education also must approve naming rights that might be granted. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Trotta. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the naming rights agreement between the Board of Education of Washington County and the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts Foundation, Inc.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ridenour. Any questions, any discussion, any comments?
Comment that I am fully in favor of this naming rights agreement, and I appreciate our board members' thoughtful process as we move through to tonight's agreement. And I look forward to the efforts of the foundation as we open the new academic center.
Well said. Mr. Ridenour.
I just want to thank the members of the foundation, the Barbara Ingram administrative staff, and others. Being on the board since the outset of Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, I know how much work you guys have put into to try to build up a fund that allows for consistent, or even on top of consistent funds for programs and activities that the school and the students at the school do. My hope is that this gives you a little more flexibility, hopefully can bring a few more dollars into the foundation, which would make your job easier and providing funds to our students for the needs that they may have easier. So thank you guys for working together with the board to put this thing through, and looking forward to see what happens in the next few years.
The vote is to approve the naming rights agreement between the Board of Education of Washington County and the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts Foundation, Inc. All those in favor? Okay, we have 7 affirmative votes and a student member concurs. Motion carries. Good luck with your campaign. Our next item under new business is this evening's consent agenda. Supervisor of Purchasing, Mr. Bakewell. Good evening.
Good evening. Tonight, I have 2 items for your review. The Purchasing Review Committee did review these items, and they are recommending approval, and staff is available if you have any additional questions.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the awards, renewals, and procurements for gasoline and diesel fuel deliveries to AC&T Company, Inc. and Petroleum Traders Corporation at the bid factor plus minus the weekly oil price information service wholesale price per gallon, and mobile device management for Apple products to CDWG at a cost of $210,989.66.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ridenour. Any questions for Mr. Bakewell? Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to the vote on the recommended motion made by Mr. Bickford. All those in favor? Okay, we have 7 votes, and the student member concurs. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll go back to the superintendent for the second half of his report.
Couple reports this evening. Chad Criswell and Mike Emily are here this evening to give us a student enrollment update. It takes a while to get the absolute official enrollment verified across the state, across CLAs, those types of things. But this is our official September 30th enrollment report, as well as our free and reduced meal rate report that's completed as of the end of October. Okay.
Good evening. I'm here with Mike Embley tonight, Supervisor of Food and Nutrition Services, to present the 2019-2020 student enrollment and the free and reduced meal eligibility rates. Looking at a quick comparison between last year and this year, we came in pretty close to our projections. We saw a small decrease in the elementary level. We're down about 58 students, which is kind of right in line with what we were anticipating. We had an exiting class, 5th grade class, of about 1,730 students. Incoming 6th grade class, just a little over 1,600. With the in-migration, it kind of washed out to a rate around 58 student loss. Again, what we were expecting. Same thing in the 6th through 8 or middle school grades, where we saw an increase of about 80 students. And then in the high school grades, we saw a slight increase of about 35 students. We were expecting it just a little bit more, but it came in pretty close within about 20 or so of what we were projecting. So our K through 12 total compared to last year, we're up about 55 students. And this is the number that's utilized for the compensatory educational funding. Looking at our pre-K programs, we're up about 256 more pre-K students than what we had last year. So as a system, we are serving a total of 311 more students this year than what we served last year, which the 22,993 students that we're serving, as you can see from the graph, is the most that we have ever served since 1999, and as far back as I can tell from records from 1992. Our K through 12 numbers are the 5th highest we've had since 1992 when I go back and look at those numbers. So we're definitely seeing a very steady, I like to call it a healthy growth. We're not seeing big fluctuations up or down. I think it's a good thing. We keep kind of trending the right way. Looking at the schools, I'm just going to touch on a couple highlights. We saw a little bit of a reduction at Bester Elementary this year. They're down by about 58 students. That was due to a large exiting 5th grade, a smaller kindergarten coming in. And we saw some outmigration at that school in second, fourth, and fifth grade, the rising second, fourth, and fifth grade. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on for one of our more urban schools as we move forward, and I'll certainly talk to our demographer about that a little bit, see if we can find any trends. Boonesboro Elementary was up at 11. Of course, this will be the final year before the realignment takes effect. And next year, we'll see some students leave Boonesboro Elementary and head over to the new Sharpsburg Elementary once it's completed. McKay Dowd was also up a little bit this year. That was primarily in the second grade class due to the magnet program. We saw a large number of students from out of district come to that facility for the magnet program. Looking at the balance of the elementary schools, Morgansville and Rockland both saw increases in every grade level. Some of the development, obviously, at the Westfield's development, we're seeing them build a lot there, so that wasn't a big surprise. But again, it's just some things we're going to keep an eye on. We'll probably come back with additional information in May or so when we come to bring you the enrollment projections. Old Forge, Pangbourne, Pleasant Valley, again, smaller exiting fifth grades, smaller kindergartens coming in, kind of the normal year-to-year fluctuations, but all in line with what we were kind of expecting for the slight decrease in elementary students. At the middle school level, it was exactly as we expected. We anticipated every school coming up except for Boonesboro and Smithsburg, and both of those, through our GIS system, we had expected a smaller incoming sixth grade class. A little bit smaller at those two facilities than what we normally see. So again, we'll keep that in line as we move forward and create projections for next year, but no major surprises for either of those facilities or any of the middle schools. And then at the high schools, again, we were expecting to be up a little bit more, but it was still pretty close to what our demographer had come up with. South was kind of the one surprise. We were up 86 students there. We knew the incoming ninth grade class was going to be large, and it was. So that was right in line with our projections. But what got us was the 12th grade class. We had about 35 more students than what we were expecting. And coupled that with some of the other migrations in the school, it was a little higher than what we were anticipating by about maybe 30 or 40 kids. But overall, we were expecting it to come up from last year. So again, no major surprises, no huge shifts, just some things we'll continue to monitor as we move forward like we do every year. And then at the special schools, we're always right around the 76 and 78 number between JDC and Marshall Street. Again, no major surprises there.
All right, I have one slide to share with free and reduced meal statistics. We are up 0.8% as a county from last year. And then you have in your packets the full breakdown for every school.
And I think with that, if there's any questions or have any you'd like us to go into further, I think we also provided 2 additional sheets with the board pack information of the facility-specific free and reduced meals, and then each school-specific grade by grade enrollment. Yes, sir.
Any questions from the board members?
The growing senior class at South High, was that kids coming from out of county or?
Well, it was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of out-of-county students. It was also a few less early graduates than what we had seen in the past. So we'll keep track of that. Again, it's something I'll talk to the demographer about, and we'll pay really close attention to that for future projections.
And most of those other elementary increases, you said were near in areas that have seen development.
Most of them. Yet there's still some that are kind of surprising to us. So you look at Bester and Lincolnshire, Hickory, Fountaindale, Pangbourne, even Paramount. They're all kind of more urban area schools. And we saw slight decreases, or in Bester's case, a large decrease. But then you go to Salem, which is contiguous to Bester and Fountaindale, and it stayed flat. It actually increased by just a couple students. So, and there was no redistricting. There was no major developments in most of those areas. So it's sometimes you just get those shifts that come in, and it's not even the kindergarten class. It's just sometimes you'll see students leave a grade, and like second grade, you'll see a large number from one school go to a magnet program at another. We do trend it. It's sometimes it's difficult to get it perfect for each school facility, and then we have to come back and look at it in staffing, and then everyone likes to yell at me, and we try to get it right, but we do our best.
Yells at you.
No one yells, no, sir.
Mr. Criswell's too nice a person to yell at. I think, too, that I was surprised at, wasn't surprised Mogulsville grew, Rockland Woods grew. We had developments there that are fairly active. I was surprised at the decrease at Old Forge. Now, we did have a large fifth grade league, but 40 students down at Old Forge, a school that's traditionally very steady, from one year to the next, maybe a difference of 1 or 2 children as they move up the next grade. That was really unusual and created a staffing challenge in that we're well-staffed there, but we couldn't take advantage of that any place. And then South High is another one. Really surprised there. We do anticipate South's going to continue to grow. We're probably going to top 1,500 students at South High in the next 4 or 5 years. So it's something we're going to have to watch in the near future.
Dr. Michael, what's our capacity at South High? What's our?
South High's capacity is 1,423.
So
is the
we're
capacity.
over.
Yeah.
Just a little bit
We do
this year.
have 12 portables there, and that's how we're managing the increase. We also are trying to work on class size there, just particularly for some students that experience some additional challenges. So we do want to try to stay under capacity when possible, but we do have 12 portables there.
I'm with 1,240, I'm sorry. I got the wrong line here.
Chad, just, excuse me, South High, what developments might be, obviously the outside things, but there's got to be some,
Sure.
with that kind of number, what developments is that Westfields, is that
Yes,
the
sir.
biggie?
Partly Westfields, some of the other developments, was it Carriage Hill that's
Yeah,
down there
it's
by
still
the?
building.
Yes,
Okay.
it's also at Hager's Crossing.
I forgot
We're
about
seeing
that.
some
Okay.
of those areas. That actually goes up and picks that up. Without having the educational facility master plan.
That's
Of course, we
okay.
go and track it every year, but those are the bigger ones that I can think of at the moment that we're seeing some students come from.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, and we're going to move to our update on safety and security. So, Mr. Ganley's here tonight. Like he either brought security or he has a guest with him, so I'll let him.
Bodyguard.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present the school safety update. In August, we met with our school assistant principals and principals to talk about safety for the school year. We also provided them with some reference guides that they could use throughout the school year. On the left, you see the camera guide. That becomes very useful for new administrators. It's a step-by-step process where they can learn how to view the cameras as well as record the cameras. We also provide a hands-on process. If they need additional help with the camera system, we bring small groups in and show them how to become more proficient with the system. On the right is the safety reference guide. We've been providing that to the principals for the last few years. It has some reminders as far as when drills are due. It has some best practice reminders. It also has in play some email address or some web addresses. So if you're coming back from the summer break and you want your staff to go over some of the safety practices, instead of having to have a meeting, you can send the address to the students or to the staff. They can bring up a 4-minute video and watch the training. So it makes it more efficient for the staff. Washington County meets all the mandated safety trainings. We do at least 8 fire drills at every school building. In addition to that, we do all of the safety drills in September when the students come back, and we repeat those drills in usually January or February after the winter break. As you see on the bottom, there's a lunchtime fire drill. That's something that we added. That's something we do with our staff. The principal can bring their staff in and walk through a lunchtime evacuation. So instead of assuming that a teacher on lunch break or on planning knows what to do, we can walk through the drill so everybody knows their part. It's better to know your part than make an assumption and not have the right people at the right place. We're required to offer options to our students when they're faced with an emergency. To make sure that everybody's getting the same message, we came up with a video. The video can be viewed online. It's on our WCPS website. It's also referenced into our safety reference guide. So we have the video that all the classroom teachers have, so everyone's getting the same message. It's shown to our middle school and high school students, but we needed something a little bit softer for the elementary schools, and there's not a whole lot out there. So we reached out to our staff, And Eastern Elementary School administration came up with a PowerPoint, and it was very soft, age-appropriate for the elementaries. So we sent that out to all our elementary school principals so they can still have a safety training, but not the same that you would present to a high school student. Building security is always a priority. As you know, in 2014, we started our vestibule project. This summer, our facilities department did a great job in putting several vestibules into our current facilities. They have one in process right now, and they're at the drawing board to add 3 more next summer. So we're very close to completing the vestibule project. The nice thing about the vestibule, it's a friendly business atmosphere where a parent or a business person can come in, meet with our office staff, but we don't have to let them into the building. So if there would be a confrontation, we have that separation. It's usually not a confrontation, but it's a business-friendly type of available atmosphere. The quality of our school cameras continue to improve. If you look at the view on the left, that's one camera. That's a 360 camera in one of our intersection hallways. That camera is looking down 4 hallways, and if we would change that view to look down where the lockers are, we don't lose the ability to record on the other 3 hallways. In the past, it would take 4 cameras to get that same view and to obtain the same recordings. On the right, we have a similar camera. That camera is looking down 2 perimeter walls at the school and also out into the parking lot. If we did that a few years ago, it would take 3 cameras to get that same angle. So what used to take 7 cameras, we can now do with 2.
How many total cameras do we have now?
It's right around 1,700.
Okay, so we started, Miss Babby came and bought cameras from Sam's Club and donated to us somehow at South and North. And we've come from that grainy, at the time, high-tech technology to 1,700. They've been very useful in helping to support safety and security of our schools.
And if a student is a victim of a fight, it also is assistance there, so it's not, you can see where there's a bully or a victim in some cases. We don't use the cameras just for safety and security. We placed one on top of the Fairview Fire Tower. We're working with our science department to be able to allow that same panoramic view to students that can't make that climb up the tower. The camera is stationed on top of the tower, and it's powered by a solar panel. So now we can allow students to go to the roundhouse, open up a laptop, and see that same view. It's the camera system. It's not open to the whole camera system. It's just to that specific camera. In the past, our school safety plans were the traditional school day, but we can't do that anymore. We have to extend the plans to include before school and after school. We have contractors that come in for daycare before school. We have 0 mod classes where students are taking that extra class. After school, we have very many clubs. We have band. We have athletic events. Sometimes the schools are in session or in practice from sometimes 10 o'clock in the evening. A safety plan for the evening, for example, could be a band director who's planning a practice for the Mummers Parade. So if they're out marching on the road practicing for the parade and one of the band members would twist their ankle, what's the plan? What are we going to do? Do we have a cell phone? Who do we call? Do the band members know what they're supposed to do while we're assisting the injured person? By having plans and practicing and letting everybody know what's expected, it makes dealing with an emergency a lot easier. We currently have 10 school resource officers in Washington County. We have 6 with the Hagerstown Police Department and 4 with the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Mullendore has applied for a state grant to add 2 additional deputies to the program, so we're hoping that we'll have 12 SROs in September 2020 when the school year starts. Our deputies are assigned to county campuses outside of Hagerstown City, and they also respond to the feeder schools, assist with the mentoring or if there's any police issue that the administration needs assistance with. Our officers are assigned to schools within the city, and they also respond to the schools within their jurisdiction and patrol. Officer Kelly, who is with us here this evening, was with the gang task force prior to becoming an SRO. He's been a great asset to the program. He continues to go to trainings, he goes to conferences, and keeps up with the gang education community. he brings a wealth of knowledge back to us, and he meets with our administrators at least 4 times a year at different meetings. And to include this summer, one of his contacts from New York came down and did a presentation on intervention and prevention on gangs that gave us an outside view. Instead of always hearing what we're doing here and what the local issues are, we got to hear from an outside source in New York and come up with hopefully some different ideas and approaches. Other things the resource officers do for us with training is the run, hide, fight. They teach our staff the run, hide, fight, and this year they had the opportunity to meet with the new teachers prior to September, and most of the new teachers have already had that training with us. Additionally, they teach the tabletops. It's a time when a small group of teachers and staff members can sit with the SRO, have a scenario given to them, and the SRO can help them walk through an emergency scenario, come out with a positive plan, and teach people that it's okay to change your plan during the scenario. We have a school security task force that is co-chaired by the Superintendent Boyd Michael and Sheriff Doug Mullendore. The nice thing about the task force is we meet 4 times a year, and it brings all of the partners together to discuss school safety. One of the things I find most beneficial is communication. There are partners. I can use an example of the fire department. They want to take tours of our building. And to do that, to find out where the shut-off valves are, we have to schedule those appointments. Well, when we have these meetings, their schedule included times when it wasn't convenient. Like the September dates, we talked about how we don't want to do anything when it's back to school. Principals are already burdened with getting everybody back in the routine. We don't want to do anything during the spring testing cycle. So these meetings are very, very beneficial because we don't just assume. We exchange information, exchange ideas, and work towards making the school safer. With that, if anyone has any questions.
About those cameras, does that number 1,700 include bus cameras, or those?
No, that's
Those
school
are
building
outside
cameras.
and inside buildings?
1,000 bus cameras, yeah. 4 cameras on there, at least 4 cameras on every bus. We have a few buses that have the speed cameras, the stop arm cameras, those types of things. But every bus has at least 4 cameras.
One time when we were talking about our portables having some cameras.
So that's been a big state feature. I'll let Mr. Ganley share about that. The portables, where we've added cameras, not only cameras, but actually inside the portable for elementary. There's really good safety techniques.
Inside the actual classroom is a monitor, and we went with the oversized monitor, and we've worked with the teacher. Usually it's in the back of the classroom, so the teacher can continue to teach and just glance up at the progress of the student leaving the portable and going into the main building. The cameras that we've added allow the teacher to watch the flow, and in some cases, we even have the inside camera to make sure that the student goes in the bathroom and doesn't go to another part of the school. So it's been a lot easier for teachers to know who's at the door. So if you're going to allow a student to go answer the back door, you have a monitor so you know who's there, and you don't have to assume and take that chance and not want to let this student open the door for another student.
So are we at 100% now on our portables having that?
Elementary.
The elementary. It's a significant investment just that far. We just felt for our younger students, we wanted to make sure that we had a little bit more tracking capability. It's certainly something we can continue to expand. My goal is to continue to try to whittle down our portables. There's a variety of reasons. We just don't want to expand that, but they are a necessary tool that we need to use.
Another question, if I may, and this is with regard to our school resource officers, Mr. Ganley. We have an officer that is solely at North High and one that is solely at South High. And then the other 8 have multiple schools that they have responsibility for. Is that correct?
Right, they do.
Officer Kelly, can you share anything?
So my question is, you mentioned that Sheriff Mullendore has a grant in for 2 additional resources, and I'm hoping that the prospects for that grant going through and being funded is a good one. do we have a plan? Well, I'm sure we have a plan. Can you share with us where those 2 additional officers would help us?
We're working with the sheriff right now, and he's discussing with his SRO supervisors, and we're meeting, and one of the things we talk about at our school security task force is how to implement the distribution of the resource officer to include where the main office would be, to try to spread out and assist with the adequate coverage of the resource officers that are out there.
So some of our schools are near the city police department, and I would imagine that the sheriff's department has patrol cars, do they not, in some of the municipalities? Do they still patrol areas? So if there
Usually
would be...
outside of the city. And we have a great partnership with the police departments, where the city police patrols, they stop into the schools and they actually sign in. All of the police departments, the city officers, the deputies and the troopers, and even the town police have the ID card so they can do patrol checks on our school. We have deputies and troopers doing reports in the parking lots at the county schools. We have city officers making that, adopting, if you would, some of the schools that are on their patrol. So we get a great partnership with the resource officer, and it extends to their home departments as well.
This is a question for Officer Kelly. What kind of problems are we seeing in our schools from our resource officers on a daily basis? What kind of things are we looking at?
Well, I mean, I think any issues, each school's like its own community. I mean, you bring up South High, and we'll say 1,400 students. I mean, it's in and of itself its own community. You have the student community, you have the parent community, you have the teaching community, you have the administration community. So we're essentially a small town. So we're experiencing anything that possibly you may see in the community, from disruptions, disagreements, which are handled by administration. We work collectively as a team to address those problems and try to find the best suited way to minimize and hopefully curb some of the behavior. It's just kids learning to get along with each other a lot of times. Unfortunately, there are times in which crimes do occur in schools, from thefts to assaults, etc. But it mirrors any community, whether it's a small town like Smithsburg to the city of Hagerstown. So you get a taste, a little bit of everything in the environment. We do the best we can, again, to minimize conflict in schools, to minimize problems. Open communication among the student population. We try to mediate problems. Again, we're in a role as resources. Your partnership with the law enforcement and the community, we're here as a resource. We're here to work with your administrators and work with your teams to not direct children down a negative path, but a positive path. Not put them in that pipeline of playground to prison, but hopefully to correct some of them that they're going in the right direction. But it's a positive environment too. It's in my 25 years with the city police department and law enforcement, this is the most rewarding position I've had. I mean, it's a positive. So.
A good bit of your time is really just a public relations positive. It's on that positive side. It's not,
Yes, sir.
it's not full-time bodyguard or
No.
prison guard or anything at all like that. It's much more of a mentor-type role, resource available to students and staff. Very positive part of our school staff and image.
Great. Good. Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
He is a great resource. Officer Kelly, I was glad that he could come tonight. He does an outstanding job. I go over to South High to watch a sporting event, and he's there with the student section. So he does more than just the school day.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say this, that it's been my experience, excuse me, in the schools, that not every policeman out there can be an SRO. It takes a special individual to come in and work with the students and so forth and all of that. And you can't always come in and be the gruff policeman and so forth. It just doesn't work. But it does take a special individual.
It does.
I've had experience with a couple in my experience that they weren't cut out for the job. I mean, they were just, it's either their way or the highway, and you just couldn't do it. So I commend you and the others who take on that job.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Ms. Williams, just a couple other announcements. By this time on Parent View and Student View, students should be able to see their grades. Also tomorrow, we'll be sending home a printed report card with all of our students. I do want to let people know we have All County course this Saturday night. I think it starts at 7 o'clock at North High. Had the opportunity probably 3 weeks ago, maybe it's been 4 weeks ago, to see our elementary students perform in a choral concert, All County choral concert, as well as an art display. I was blown away by the elementary group this year. They sang a number of songs in some foreign languages. I don't know how they learned that much material and did that well, but they were spectacular, spectacular. So I look forward every year to all of our All County events, but I'm sure our middle school and high school will do equally well this Saturday. Also, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Take time to count your blessings, and to staff and students, enjoy some time off next week. So, again, to our educational support personnel, tomorrow being a special day for you, I thank you again for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. We'll move on to personnel action. Dr. Bishop?
Good evening, Mrs. Williams, Dr. Michael, and board members. As we discussed earlier in closed session, there are several staff changes for your review. So at this time, I ask for your approval of today's personnel actions.
Thank you, Dr. Bishop. Is there a motion?
Move to accept the personnel actions as discussed earlier today.
Thank you, Mr. Reidner. Is there a second? Any questions? Okay, the vote is on approval of today's personnel actions as discussed in closed session. All those in favor? 7 unanimous, or 7 affirmative votes. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Bishop.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to reports to the board. Board member committee reports. Mr. Reidner, would you like to begin?
Yes, ma'am. We will be meeting, the Human Resources Department will be meeting next Tuesday, 9:15. I believe it's in the Frederick room, but I'm not sure. Check it out.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Fisher.
Policy Committee will also meet on November 26th, that's this coming Tuesday, at 10:30. Equity policy will be our main topic at that time.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Mrs. Vesper.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Our Finance Committee will be heading down to Sharpsburg Elementary to do a walkthrough to see, facilities. Yeah, well, the Finance could come too, you know. Peter, if you want to come, you're already there anyway, so. Facilities will be there.
We have a lot of money invested in
We
trucks.
do, we
so
do.
it might
So
be
we
important
wanna
for them
check
to see
that
it as
out.
well.
At 8 o'clock, we'll be down there, and we're doing a walkthrough the school to see what the progress was. This will be our second visit down there. I think we were seeing footers the last time. I think we'll see rooms this time.
You'll see a lot of rooms.
Yeah, so we're excited about seeing that, and if the Finance Committee wants to come along, more than welcome, so. Thank you, thank you.
And the real Finance Committee Chair, Mr. Bickford.
I will be attending the Sharpsburg tour. And I almost said Facilities Committee. Finance Committee meets December 17th at 8 a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Mrs. Murray.
Yes, I have 2 things to report. Curriculum and instruction will meet Tuesday, November 26th at 4 p.m. in the board conference room. And I am currently serving on the ESP of the Year Committee. And we had over 160 people nominated. And we had 115 people fill out the questionnaire. So now we are in the process of going through those and scoring them blindly. Of course, we don't know who it is, but we're looking through all of those nominations. The committee will meet next week, I think it is, or in 2 weeks, and try to get down to 5 ESP, and out of those 5, we will have 1 ESP of the year. And the dinner is on February 12th at the Elks Club. So I hope that all the board members can attend. I know some of you are going to the May day the next day, so you might not be able to, but if you're not going to MABE, it would be great if you could come.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Mr. Mackley?
Yeah, the Washington County Association of Student Councils, we held a General Assembly meeting this morning actually at North Hagerstown High School. Our next General Assembly will be January 7th, and that'll actually be the meeting where we'll nominate candidates for the next student member of the Board of Education. Elections won't be till March, but we'll have a set list of candidates as of January 7th, so we're looking forward to that.
Where will that meeting be, Chris?
I can get you an answer here in a second. That will be at Boonesboro High School, January 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Mackley. Mr. Stauffer, did you have anything that you wanted to say about?
I just wanted to ask, I attended the MABE Legislative Committee meeting yesterday, and I was just wondering if the items that I brought back could be included in the next packet to go out so that all members could read that, because it's so extensive, all the material and so forth.
Members, is that something that you would find helpful to have that
It's
information?
the funding proposals and the background behind them. It's just too much to try to report.
Okay. All right, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
next Tuesday, 9:15 in the Funkstown room.
In the Funkstown room, thank
Yes.
you. Okay. And this morning, no, wrong, this afternoon, it seemed like morning though, because it was the first thing I did today. Earlier this afternoon, we met with the county commissioners in joint session and shared with them our legislative program for this year and our CIP plan for fiscal year 2021. So I just wanted to mention that. Next item on our agenda is consideration of future agenda items, and you should have a list of those that came in your packet. I will mention that we have one meeting in December, and that is December 10th. The items that are listed as future agenda items that were in your packet are things that are listed through January and all the way to May. We have lots of reports and legislative briefings. Mrs. Cade will be here giving us legislative briefings in February, March, April, and May. Coming up on January 21st, we have an equity update. And as we begin working on our equity policy next week, I'm very interested in the update that will be given come January 21st. So that's what's happening with future agenda items. That brings us to board member comments, and since we started down here at this end for committee reports, would you like to begin down there, Mr. Mackley?
I have nothing to report this evening.
Nothing to report? Thank you. Mrs. Murray?
I forgot to mention that, I think it was 2 weeks ago on Saturday, we had the Washington County Public Schools Wellness event here. Even though it was a very cold morning.
Very cold morning.
We had so many people attend, and a lot of families were here, and it was a wonderful event, very well planned and very well liked by everyone that was here. So I want to thank the people that organized it. I think it was Tricia Riley was the...
Tricia Riley, benefits team. Yeah,
Yes, and
HR
they did a
support.
wonderful job, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And the other thing I want to say is, I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stauffer?
I just want to congratulate Boonesboro High School for winning the We the People competition and moving on to the state level, I guess it is, and so forth. And, I helped judge one of the things, but it didn't say it for that reason, but I was just amazed at the research that the students had done with their opening statements and everything. So, but one thing I must say, I don't get used to this. When you enter the room, the judges enter the room, all the students stand up. I mean, why do they start after I'm retired? Nobody ever did that when I was still working. I don't get it.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I would like to say I had attended Pangbourne Elementary's Veterans Day program. This is, I think, probably my third time attending that, and it is just different all the time. I think Boonesboro, either orchestra or band, I couldn't hear if it was the full band or orchestra, was able to attend and help with some of the music, which was really nice. Eric Meredith is the principal there, and he just did a fantastic job. His staff were very helpful, and the students were just wonderful to celebrate that day. So kudos to all of those folks who helped with that. And I know we had other schools that had some programs. Clear Spring, I think, had one, and I think there was a few in the evenings I wasn't able to attend. But thanks to the schools that do put those programs on. We do appreciate our veterans, and I'm thankful that I was able to attend that. So other than that, just a happy Thanksgiving to all my colleagues and our family and friends out there.
Thank you, Mr. Gesser. Mrs. Fisher?
I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Ridenour?
Two things real quickly. Mr. Mackley, what's the name of the young man that won the state cross-country?
His name's Zane Shalker. He goes by Iggy, though.
Okay, he, from Williamsport, right?
Yeah.
Was the state champions in boys cross-country. And the other one is, I mean, it's been on the board now 15 years, and pretty much every year we have to say congratulations to the Smithsburg volleyball team, because they just won a state volleyball championship again in 1A. The interesting thing was they started this year hideously. I mean, this was a struggle, and it's a credit to the kids that they sucked it up and never gave up and ended up winning the state championship this past Saturday. So congratulations to Coach Brashear. If you put medals around her neck, she'd be about 25 pounds heavier than she is right now, because they've won 15 for her, I think, or 14 or 15 state championships. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, we'll be honoring all of our state champions at the next board meeting on December 10th. I think we had a female cross-country winner, winner as well. I think we had a female cross-country winner as well.
I can't remember.
Name's not coming to
I
me.
wasn't sure the female. I didn't want to say it and not be right, but yeah.
Hopefully they'll all be here on the 10th, and the board will have an opportunity to congratulate them.
And our Mr. Mackley is a member of
the state cross-country team. Yep.
Yeah, congratulations, Chris.
One of the, what, 7 runners? The operator of the trophy, huh?
So if there's nothing else, I wish everyone a very, very happy Thanksgiving. We have so much to be thankful for. And with that, we'll adjourn.